We begin today the Gemara on the bottom of Nun Zayin Amud Beis. The Gemara brings again here what it said in the Mishnah, that Hashem Echinam Eina Nishba V'chulo. When it comes to Hashem Echinam that's dealing with matters of hektish, so he doesn't have to swear to pater himself of paying in the case of a negligence. Unlike Hashem Echinam between a person and his friend, but by hektish, this halacha of swearing does not apply. V'ramino, the Gemara says, I'll ask you a contradiction in what it says in our Mishnah from a different Mishnah. And here the Gemara quotes from a Mishnah in Masechta Shkolim. Mishnah says as follows: B'nei ha'ir shesholchu shekleyen, people of a city, they send their machzas hashekel. This is in the month of Adar, where they send their machzas hashekel to the Beis HaMikdash. So they sent their shkolim with a shliach to deliver it to the Beis HaMikdash. V'nignavu, oisha avdu, it was either stolen or it was lost from this shliach. So now the Mishnah says it depends when it was stolen. If it was stolen, or actually Rashi explains what this means is, if by the time they came to Bezdin to demand from this person, what happened to the machzas hashekel? He didn't deliver it to the Beis HaMikdash. If by the time they bring him to the Bezdin to ask him for it, so the truma of the machzas hashekel was already taken. What does this mean? They had a room of the machzas hashekel where they kept all the machzas hashekel. Then they would take out from those coins. What were they used for? They were used for the karbanis tzibur, the carbon tamid, the carbon musaf, and so on. Actually, 3 times a year they would separate from the big pot of the machzas hashekel before Pesach, before Shavuos, before Sukkot. They would separate the machzas hashekel. Okay, so now what the Mishnah here is saying is, if they found out that this was stolen and they're coming with him to the Bezdin after they had already separated the machzas hashekel, so then nishbon like gizbarin. The shliach that lost this machzas hashekel or it got stolen from him, and he claims that it's not his responsibility, who does he have to swear to? He has to swear to the gizbarim, which are the gabayim of the hektish. What's the reason for this? So Rashi brings, the Gemara is going to bring it later, the halacha regarding the machzas hashekel is, when they separate the machzas hashekel and they bring later the karbanis from these machzas hashekel, they're bringing it for all of Klal Yisrael, and that includes those that already gave the machzas hashekel, those that are planning on giving, and even those that already, it's on the way and it got lost on the way. The machzas hashekel of the karbanis that are brought include also for those that got lost. Okay, but that's only though if you find out that it got lost after the machzas hashekel was already separated and brought for the karbanis. So basically, the loss that happened there, who's losing out from this? The hektish is losing out. The private people that donated their machzas hashekel are not losing out from this because they're already included. They don't have to bring a second machzas hashekel. It's the hektish that's losing out, and therefore this person is going to have to, the shliach is going to have to swear to the hektish that it got lost. In lav, however, if it was not known that it got stolen or it got lost until after they already separated the machzas hashekel and they took it out to use for the karbanis, so then in such a case the halacha is that the people are going to have to give the machzas hashekel again. Therefore, nishban lebnei, the shliach, the shluchim that were bringing this machzas hashekel to Yerushalayim, they have to swear to the people of the city that it got lost. Since that, if it was found out only afterwards that it got stolen, so again, it was found out. V'im lav, again, sorry, let me explain that again. V'im lav means it was found out that it got stolen before they took out the machzas hashekel to use for the karbanis. If it was found out that it was lost or stolen before it was taken out, then it actually will be their responsibility to bring the machzas hashekel a second time.
I don't know, because they counted. I mean, it's impossible to
No, not mitzvah they counted. Again, no. When the shliach does not deliver the machzas hashekel. So if the shliach was brought to the Bezdin before they separated and took out the machzas hashekel to use, and this was lost, it wasn't there, they already know that it was lost, so then you have to bring machzas hashekel a second time. If it was found out that it was lost only after, then what was used of the machzas hashekel includes what got lost as well. It includes what was sent and got lost. It's for those yidden as well. Right, so therefore, again, the point is, ve'im lav, if it was not known that it was got stolen or lost afterwards, but it was known already before, then the people of the city that sent their machzas shekel, they're the ones that are losing out because now they're going to have to give a machzas shekel a second time, and therefore b'nei Yair shekel and acherim tachteim, they're going to have to give a machzas shekel a second time.
Who gave? Everybody has to give this.
All the people of the city that sent their machzas shekel,
Only some of them.
whoever it got lost, the machzas shekel got lost, they're going to have to give a second time. The Gemara's understanding at this point is that this Mishnah is talking about these people, the shluchim, that were bringing the machzas shekel were shei mechinam. Because they're shei mechinam, so they're not responsible for gneva and aveda. So they're going to swear to pater themselves that it wasn't their negligence, and therefore they're pater. That's the understanding of the Gemara at this point. Another din the Mishnah, they says, nimtzu, if they find later the machzas shekel that was lost, or the ones that stole it returned it, elu ve'elu, in either way, in both cases, shkolimim, this is still machzas shekel, and you have to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash. Ve'ein oin lahem l'shana haba. It is not going to be used for the following year, but it's already been sanctified from before, and this is the machzas shekel of this year. So what's the Gemara's question? You clearly...
They made it twice, basically.
Again?
The Hekdesh made it twice.
Well, this is the same machzas
Okay.
shekel, the machzas shekel that was stolen, and now they found it. So that machzas shekel that was stolen or lost, and they found it, this is already kaddish from before.
What happened if they had given already a second one and then they found it?
So then right, if they found it and they already gave a second one, it doesn't matter because it was already sanctified from the previous year, right? So they can't count it for the next year, exactly, correct. Okay, but now the main thing the Gemara is focusing on over here is we see that these shluchim are shemechinam, and it's saying here that they have to swear when there's a gneva and aveda that happens, and they have to swear to pater themselves that there was no negligence, and therefore it's not their responsibility. But we say in the Mishnah that a shemechinam that has something that's hektish that he's watching, he doesn't have to swear in such a case. The halacha of a shvuah for a shemechinam does not apply by hektish. So the Gemara answers, no, there's a different way to explain this Mishnah altogether. So Shmuel says, Hacha b'noises sachar askinan. What we're talking about over here is a shomer sacha. These shluchim that were sent, they were hired, they were paid, they weren't doing it for free. And therefore, what are they swearing about? They're not swearing to try to pater themselves. V'nishboin, what they're swearing is, litel scharan. They're swearing, we did our job as best as we can, and the fact that it got lost, it got stolen is not our responsibility, and therefore we should get paid for our job. So true, they don't swear over here to pater themselves of paying back, or by the same would be by Shem B'Sachar, to swear to pater yourself in the case of, if there's a einus, to pater yourself by the Gneva V'Aveda, that doesn't apply here. They're swearing just in order for them to collect the pay, that they were hired, that they get paid for the job that they did. And the Gemara is soon going to explain exactly what it is that they swear if they want to pater themselves. Okay, but first the Gemara asks, if that's the case, you're telling me that they're swearing just in order to get paid for the job that they were hired to do. If so, why does it say nishban legizbanim? Why does it say in the first case of this Mishnah that if it got stolen and it was only found out that it got stolen after the machzas shekel was already being used, so now it's not a loss to the people that hired them or sent it with them, it's a loss to the hektish, and therefore they have to swear to hektish. Why are they swearing to hektish? They should be swearing to the people of the city that hired them and are paying them. If the point there is they're just swearing because they want to get paid for their job, either way, no matter what the case of here is, they should be swearing to the people of the city that hired them and paid them. So Rab explains this detail of the Mishnah. You're right, either way they're swearing for the people of the city that they're not responsible for the loss that happened and they should get paid. Now, when it says in the Reisha of the Mishnah that they're swearing to the Gabayim of the Hektish, it just means b'maimed gizbarin. That means that in the case where it was only found out that it was lost after they began using the machzas shekel, because Hektish is losing out from this, it has to be in the presence of the gizbarim of the Hektish, and the reason is in order that the Gabay of the Hektish should not be suspicious that they stole it for themselves, or that the Gabayim of the Hektish should not refer to these shluchim as people that are negligent. They were supposed to deliver it, and they were just negligent about it, and they didn't bring it. But really, the point of the shvuah here is just for them to get paid for the job that they're doing. They're not trying to pater themselves of the loss that happened. But now the Gemara asks in this, but doesn't it say here that what happened here? It got stolen or it got lost? V'shem Yisachar, v'gneve v'aveda, chiyuv v'mechayiv. A Shem Yisachar, a hired Shemer, he's responsible for a gneve and aveda. Now, so v'hachanami, here in our case as well, mehi d'shlumi loy mishalmi, even if it's true that because we're dealing with hektish, as the Mishnah says before, regarding hektish, Hashem Yisachar is not responsible for a gneve and aveda, but agraya mi olafsid. Shouldn't they use their pay? They were hired to do a job, and they had a level of responsibility that they should have made sure that it shouldn't get stolen or lost, and it did get stolen or lost. They shouldn't get paid for this. What does it mean that they're swearing that it got stolen or lost, and they want to get paid? Why should they get paid? They didn't do their job well. So the Gemara answers, when it says here that it got stolen, what it means is nignevu b'listim mezuyin. What happened over here is it was stolen from them with the armed robber. So this is something which was beyond their control, a einus, and that's what they're swearing. There was the einus, and therefore it's not their fault. And when it says avdu, that it got lost, it's also something which is totally out of their control. Shetava sfinase b'yam, that the boat where they were on, or where the money was on, it sunk, and therefore the money got lost. That's the case over here, and therefore that's what they're swearing about. They're swearing that it was an einus, and therefore they did their job the best of their ability, and they should get paid. Another pshat in this Mishnah, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yechanan says, going back to our original understanding of this Mishnah, the shluchim that are bringing this machzas hashekel to the Beis Hamikdash are actually a shem chinam, and they're swearing in order to pater themselves of paying. Our question was, but why do they have to swear? If the Mishnah says that a shem chinam by hektish does not swear, so the Gemara answers, Hamani Rab Shimon he. This Mishnah follows the opinion of Rab Shimon. The Amar Rab Shimon says, Kochim shechayev b'achriyusam yesh lehem eino. Anytime you have kochim, that if it gets lost, it's your responsibility to replace it. Such kind of kochim, the din of eino does apply to it, even though we learned before that there's no eino by kochim. And also, v'nishba'am aleim, the halacha of a shemer that's watching such an item, which belongs to someone, but it's hektish. But it's hektish where the owner has the responsibility to replace it. If it gets lost, that's something that the halacha of a shmira, of a shemer, to swear in it, does apply. So over here as well with the machzas hashekel, the reason why there is a din of a shem v'chinam to swear in it is because if it gets lost, then the people of the city that sent the machzas hashekel have to replace it. So this is something which they have some level of ownership over it. And therefore someone else that's carrying it for them and watching it for them, the halachas of a shemer that he has to swear will apply. But the Gemara asks on this, it depends which case we're talking about over here. That's true in the second case where it said here in the Mishnah that if it was found out that it was stolen before they already began using the machzas hashekel. So in such a case, you have to replace the machzas hashekel. So it's their responsibility to replace it. So therefore, the din of a shem v'chinam applies there. But but if you found out that it was stolen or that it got lost only after they already began using the machzas hashekel, so then the machzas hashekel that's brought in the Beis Hamikdash includes even those people that sent and it got lost, as long as you found out about it later. That's Rashi's pshat in the Gemara. So if so, this is something that the people of the city that sent the machzas hashekel don't have any responsibility to replace. The Tanya, as we learned in the Braisa, as follows: Toimen ala avod, when the people in the Beis Hamikdash, the Gabbai, when they took out from the place where they had all the machzas hashekel in the lishka, and as I mentioned before, 3 times a year, before Pesach, before Sukkot, or before Shavuos first, and then before Sukkot, 3 times a year, they would take out the money of the machzas hashekel. They would put it in 3 kupos, and then they would use it for all the karbanis that they needed. So when they would take out this money, Tarmin, they would separate and take out the money. Who are they taking it out for? They're including the people that obviously already donated, and the machzas hashekel is here, but also it includes even al ha'avud, people that sent machzas hashekel, and it didn't make it to the Beis Hamikdash. It got lost on the way. Valagovoi, people that it was already collected from them, the machzas hashekel, but it's on the way to the Beis Hamikdash. It didn't make it there. And even even people that did not give machzas hashekel yet, but they're planning on. When was the time to give machzas hashekel? As I mentioned in the beginning, the time was Chodesh Adar. But even if you didn't give it in Chodesh Adar, you have all the way to later on, throughout the months of the year, anytime you give, as long as you end up giving your machzas hashekel before the last time when they separated the coins of the machzas hashekel from that year to use for the karbanis, so then you will be included in the machzas hashekel of that year. If you bring it afterwards, so then Rashi says it's going to go into it's also going to, you're going to be included in machzah shekel, but it's going to be going to a different kuppah. It's not going to go for the karbanis anymore. It's going to go for it's called, Rashi says of it, they had a special kuppah for this, for the people that brought very late, and they would use it for other things. They would use it for the Yerushalayim, things to fix over there in Yerushalayim. So the point is, what do you see over here in this Braisa? The Braisa says that as long as it got lost and it wasn't found out that it got lost, so then it's included in the machzah shekel. You don't have to bring the machzah shekel again. If so, how could you say that we're following over here the opinion of Rab Shimon that says that this is a kind of hektish, you have this machzah shekel, that it's your responsibility to replace. Not necessarily is it your responsibility to replace. It depends when it was found out that it got lost. If you found out it got lost before they began using the machzah shekel, then you have to replace it. But if it was found out only later on, so then when they separated the machzah shekel and the Beis Hamikdash, it was including you. So you don't have any responsibility to replace this. So this is hektish. There shouldn't be any halacha of shomer chinam here that he has to swear. So therefore the Gemara says, Ela Omer Rabbi Lazar. So therefore Rabbi Lazar says, Shvu ezu takanas chachamimi. The shvu of our Mishnah, we're talking about a shomer chinam that's swearing that he was not negligent. Even though minat Torah, you don't have to swear. There's a miyot of the pasuk that a shomer chinam does not swear by hektish, but if Yer Chachamim instituted, you should swear anyways. Why? Shalayu b'nei adam mezalzelim bekdeshes. In order that people should not treat hektish and disregard hektish, that it's not, even if it gets lost, I won't have to swear about it. It's not my responsibility. So Chachamim instituted that he should swear about this, that he was not negligent about it. The next thing it said in the Mishnah was Noises Sachar Ein Mishalim. A Shomer Sachar, when he has something of hektish that he's watching, so usually a Shomer Sachar will be responsible if it gets stolen or lost, but by hektish, that responsibility does not apply. Rav Yosef bar Chama asks Rabba about this. So here in our Mishnah it says that a Shomer Sachar does not pay if it gets stolen or lost, if it's hektish that he has. But I'll ask you a contradiction from the following Braisa where it says regarding different cases of a person that's hired to watch things of hektish. If the Gabbai of the hektish hires a worker to help him with the hektish, what is he doing? One case is Lishmer Sapara. He's guarding the para that's going to be used for the para aduma. So he has someone to watch it to make sure that it shouldn't become puzzle. If you put any yolk on top of it, or if it gets a blemish, it'll be puzzle. So he's hiring someone to take care of it, that it shouldn't get puzzle. Or Lishmer Satinik. He's watching the child that was prepared for the para aduma. This is a child that had to be raised in an area which was totally pure. The Gemara describes in Sukkah how they built a place which was hollow on the bottom, and he was kept in a place where it was 100% pure, and then he was the one that sprinkled the waters on the kayanim, that then prepared the para aduma. He had to be 100% pure from his birth. Yeah, a child. It was a child from birth. He was raised in this place, and you had to hire someone to take care of him. Or Lishmar Sazraim, you hired someone to take care of the plants that were going to be used for the carbon Omer, actually, Pesach, right? Now, we're counting now Sfiris Omer, and there was in the time that they had to have someone to take care of the Zrayim that are growing in that time. Rashi says it could be talking also about in the Shemitah time when they didn't plant, they didn't have exactly enough proper to be able to use. It was just some that grew on its own, sfichim, so they needed to have this for the Omer and for the Shtei Alechem, so they hired someone to take care of it. So now, ein noisen loy schar Shabbos. He can't be paid for Shabbos. You're not allowed to pay someone to do for you a job on Shabbos if you're just paying for Shabbos itself. So if this is a person that's being hired and paid on a daily basis, you can't pay him for Shabbos. So therefore he has no responsibility for what happens on Shabbos itself. He's not being paid for that, so that's not his responsibility. However, says the Braisa, Shabbos, if he was being hired for the entire week, that's what Shabbos here means, or Sacher Chodesh, he was being hired for the entire month, or Sacher Shana, he was hired for an entire year, or Sacher Shavua, he was hired for 7 years. In such a case, you're not paying him just for Shabbos. You're paying him for the whole week or for the whole month, and Shabbos is included, B'havla. It's just part of it, but it's not uniquely for Shabbos. Then, Noisen Lo Schar Shabbos. In such a case, you can pay him, including also for the work that he does in Shabbos. Therefore, he's going to have the responsibility for what happens to what he's guarding here, even on Shabbos. That's what it says here about this worker that's doing, he's a Shem Esacha. He's hired, he's paid, he's doing the work here for Hektish. So the Gemara says, what does this mean here? What exactly is his responsibility? My love, don't you think the responsibility here is l'shalim? That he's responsible, that if something happens, if there's a gneva, there's a veda, that he's going to be liable. He's going to be responsible to pay for this. So the question is, but didn't we say that regarding Hektish, a Shem Esacha does not have the responsibility of a regular Shem to pay for gneva and aveda? Answers the Gemara, loi. That's not what it means. Rather, it means just lahafsitz chodai. His responsibility that it says over here is that if it gets ruined, if something happens to it, will he lose his pay that he was supposed to get? Not whether he's going to be responsible with what happened to replace it. No, that he's not responsible. Because Hashem Esacha B'Hektish does not have that responsibility. The question though is he going to lose his pay? So for Shabbos, he doesn't lose his pay. Okay, but if he's hired the entire week or an entire month and so on, so then it's saying that it's going to be his responsibility that he's going to lose this. But the Gemara says now it doesn't fit though into what it says in the Reisha of this Brisa, because Hihachi Reisha Diktani, what does it say in the Reisha? Ein achrayis Shabbos olov, that the responsibility of Shabbos is not on him. What does this mean? Is it saying over here that regarding Shabbos, he's not going to lose his schar, his pay, if something goes wrong? But you can't say that though. Does he have any pay for Shabbos in the first place? Wasn't the Brisa saying that if he's hired and being paid on a daily basis, then there is no pay for Shabbos? So you can't say over here in the Reisha of the Brisa that what we're dealing with is his pay, whether he loses pay or doesn't lose pay. But regarding Shabbos, there is no pay. There is no schar for Shabbos. So after he asked this question, so ishtik. So Rabbi heard this question, he was quiet, he didn't know what to answer. So he said back to Rav Yisrael Bar Chama that asked this question, did you hear any pshat to resolve this question from this Brisa? So he answered, yeah, this is what Rav Sheshes said. In this case, when they hired this Shem Esacha, they made a special kinyan. They should be responsible for what happens if it gets ruined, if it gets lost, if it gets stolen, that it will be his responsibility. Which means, even though usually by Hektish, it's not your responsibility, as we said, the Shem Esacha by Hektish does not have that kind of responsibility, but if there was a special kinyan made, they made a deal with him that he will be responsible. Rabbi Yechanan also explained the same thing. If a special kinyan was made, he'll be responsible even for Hektish as a regular Shem Esacha. Okay, the next thing the Gemara here quotes from what it said in the Mishnah. Rav Shimon says, this is the Gemara quoted before here, this point about Rav Shimon's opinion, even though we said that by Kochim, there's no halachas of a Shomer, but nevertheless, Kochim shechayev b'chriyusam, if it's a kind of Kochim where it's your responsibility to replace it if it gets lost, then yeshlem hayna, then the halacha of hayna does apply to Kochim. V'she'en chayev b'chriyusam, if it's a Kochim where it's not your responsibility to replace it, then ein lem hayna. Then the halachas of Enoah does not apply. Now this simply means, here Rashi brings, we had in the Mishnah also, that when you designate an animal for Hektish, if you say, Harei alai, I take it upon myself, so then if it gets lost or stolen or whatever happens to it, it's your responsibility to replace it. But if a person says regarding this animal, Harei zu, this animal should be Hektish, so then that's only this one. If it gets lost or stolen, you don't have to replace it. That's the two cases he's talking about. Tani Tana Kamed Rav Yitzchak Barabe. Tana in front of Yitzchak Ba'abe taught the source for this. Kochim shechayev b'chriyusam, the case of kochim that you're chayev, and if gets lost, it's your responsibility. Chayev, you will be chayev in the halachas of Eino. And here actually the Gemara brings the source regarding another halacha that the Mishnah said that in such a case the halacha of a person that swore falsely, and then you have to pay kefil for this, will apply over here, even though usually by Kochim, the halacha of paying kefil does not apply for this. Where do I learn this out from? Shani kaide behen, because regarding this Kochim that is your responsibility over here, I read that what the pasuk says, Ba'Hashem v'kichish, that something that belongs to Hashem, and you denied it, and then you admit afterwards, so you have to pay for this. This is the pasuk there where it talks about the person that denied that he has a pekadon in his hands, and the pasuk there uses this term, bashem v'kichish ba'misai. It starts off saying that you did it against Hashem, and then it says v'kichish ba'misai. You denied to your friend. So it says Bashem v'kichesh. So therefore, in this case, you're going to be responsible. If it's something that is not your responsibility, so then potter. In such a case, you're going to be potter because in such a case, it's totally hektish. Shani kaire behen ba'mitay v'kichesh. Over here, I apply what it says in the pasuk ba'mitay v'kichesh, and therefore you're not going to be responsible for this. Okay, now the Gemara asks right away, the drasha, the way this was taught here, does not make sense at all. Omalei. So he asked him, Rav Yitzchak asked him, klapilai. In which direction are you going here? Ipchem istavra. It should be the opposite. It says that you learn out from Bashem v'kichesh that if you have a responsibility over it, since it's yours, so therefore the halachas of paying for denying will apply. And you're learning it from Bashem. The opposite. Bashem is saying that if it belongs to Hashem, so in such a case you should be responsible. But over here, it's you that you have an achrayis over it. That means that it's more yours, not Bashem. The Gemara is bringing over here that this Braisa is bringing the drasha, the opposite of what it's trying to say. And also Rashi says that the whole point over here is the more it belongs to Hektish, the less reason there is that the halachas of you paying when you deny and swear falsely should apply. The Braisa here seems to be saying the opposite, that if it's Ba'Shem, then you're responsible. If it's Ba'Misa, if it's you're denying to your friend, then you don't have the obligation to pay. But the opposite should be true. The more hektish it is, the less reason there should be for you to pay. So therefore, Amalei, Rav Yitzchak Baba says to the Tana Ismay, should I erase this Braisa? It seems like that the Braisa is a mistake. Amalei, so he answered him, no. You have to just revise it. The version of the Braisa is different. Hachi ka'amar, this is how you read the Braisa. Kachim, shechayim b'chri yusam. If it's a case of kachim, that it's the responsibility of the owner to replace it, and now someone has it as a pekadin, and he denied it, and so on. So over here it's saying chayiv, that he's going to be obligated for denying it and swearing falsely. And the reason is the israbu mi b'Hashem v'kichish. The fact that the Torah uses the term b'Hashem over here is coming to include this case that you're going to be responsible for it, even though it's not yours completely. You only have a responsibility to replace it. It really belongs to Hashem because it's already hektish. But that's what we learn from b'Hashem v'kichish, to say that even in this case you're going to be chayiv. If you have hektish, that if it gets lost, it's not your responsibility to replace it at all, meaning you have no level of ownership in it at all, then potter. Then you're going to be potter for any halachas of denying this kind of pekadin and so on. Why? Because the imit miba misoi v'kichish. Because the pasuk there also uses the term that the halachas only apply when it's between you and your friend. In this case, when you have no responsibility to replace it, that means it's totally hektish. In such a case, because it says Amisa has to be between you and your friend, so then you denied it. And over here, you have no responsibility, no level of ownership on it at all, so you're not going to be responsible if you swear falsely on this. That's how you read the correct version of this Braisa. The Gemara finishes off here with the last halacha that it said in the previous Mishnah. Rav Yudah says, person that sells a Sefer Torah, or margolis, a person sells precious gems, or behema, or he sells animals, the halachas of Eina, if you overpaid for this, you overcharged, does not apply here. What's the reason for this? So the Gemara brings here the explanation Rabbi Yudah said. Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, Rabbi Yudah said, he explained like as follows. You sell a Sefer Torah, you're paying for it, there's no din of Eina of it if you overcharge, because there's no end to the price. It's a priceless thing. A Sefer Torah, if someone wants to have a Sefer Torah, he could be ready to pay double, triple the price. There's no union of Eina for this. Behema or margolis, you're buying an animal, a precious gem, there's no Eina either. Sometimes you buy an animal, you're ready to pay a double price for it because you have this animal that you need as a peer for another animal that's working for you in the field, or you have a gem and you want to have 2 gems or 2 diamonds or 2 pieces of jewelry that are similar that you want to match together, and you're ready to pay extra for it, even much more than the market value. So in such a case, the halachas of Eina being overcharged does not apply. The person was Michael, he bought it for this price. Amrullah, the Chachamim argued with Rabbi Yehuda, and they said, if you're going to use this svara, then you can apply that to anything. Anytime a person overpays, you can say maybe he needed it as a peer for something else. So you should never have a halacha of no that after he was overcharged by a sixth or more than a sixth that the sale is bottle or he can ask back for his money. But Rabbi Yehuda will answer you, Hani chashivile. Over here, the ones that I'm mentioning to you, an animal or the gem or so on, these are things that are very chashiv, they're very expensive, and therefore this is something that it's important for a person to have a peer and so on. Here we say that a person will be ready to pay more. But stop regarding any other object where a person is overcharged, that's not something which is chashiv and we can't apply this. How much do we say if a person is overcharged, then there's no ino over here? Says its value. If he was charged double, then I say that he's ready to pay double because he needs it. But if he was charged more than kedei d'meim, more than double, then I don't apply that anymore. Tanya Nebraisa, we learned Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira said, a person sells a horse, or v'sayif, or a person sells a sword, or v'chatitum, or a armor. I think that's the translation, yeah? Shield and armor. B'mulchamed during the wartime. These kind of items in this time period has no din of eina that you will overcharge. Because a person is ready to pay any price for it because he needs it during war to protect himself, to save himself. So over here, a person is ready to pay any price. There's no halacha of eina that applies here. Just like we learned the halachas of a person being overcharged regarding a sale in the money, similar, there's a halacha of eina when you fool someone, or what's the eina b'dvarim? How do they translate eina b'dvarim? When you wrong someone, you don't speak to him properly in words. And what are the examples for this? So the Mishnah gives a few examples. Don't go to someone that's selling someone and inquire by him, how much is this item? What's the price for this? You don't have in mind at all to buy from him. So you're making an impression as if you want to buy from him, but you're really not interested at all. Another case, if a person is a Baal Tshuva, don't go and say to him, remember your previous life and deeds that you did before you did Tshuva. And who ben gaidim, it's a person that is a ger, converted. You shouldn't tell him, or if his father was a ger, don't say to him that, remember where you come from, what your father did when he was a guy. You should not wrong him with these words, and you should not oppress him. So this is the eina b'dvarim with words. So regarding this, we learned when it says in the pasuk that you should not speak bad to your friend by eina's dvarim, but speaking about words. You're saying it's speaking about doing something wrong to your friend with words. Maybe it means that you shouldn't overcharge him in money in a sale. So the Gemara answers no, because the pasuk says previously, you buy or you sell. The halacha of not overcharging or underpaying regarding money, that's already said. Why does the pasuk repeat again? Here, this means by that you should not wrong your friend with words. And here the Brisa brings again the examples. Our Mishnah says, to a Baal Tshuva, you should not tell him, you remember what you once did. And Maya ben Gaidim, if he comes from Gaidim, don't tell him that you remember what your father once did. Another example here that the Mishnah did not say, if it says a ger and he wants to come and learn Torah, don't say to him, that ate non-kosher foods in any of these categories. Now you come to learn Torah. Which is given from the Hashem's mighty mouth. So this is also another example that you should not say to a person something like this. You see someone that's experiencing pain. If you see a person that's experiencing illnesses, or a person, God forbid, that's burying his children. Don't tell him, similar to what Eov, that suffered a lot in his life, his friends told him. His friends said to him, your fear of God is not real. It's kislascha, it's not honest. You're fooling Hashem, or it's not for real. And the same thing is tikvascha v'toim drachecha, your hope and your ways that you're going. It's all kisla. It's not real. Scharna miu naki avad. Remember, look around, see who's someone that's pure that Hashem causes him to lose like this. So the people told Eov that the bad things that are happening to you is because you deserve it. So chas v'shalom, a person should never say such a thing to someone that bad things are happening to him. Another case where of a noz dvarim, im hoya chamorim bevakshin tvua mimenu, if there were the donkey riders that were looking to buy wheat, lo yemel lehem, don't send them to someone. Go to that individual, he'll help you. You want to just get him off your back, so you just say, go to him, he'll help you out. And you know that person's not going to help them at all. He has no wheat to sell for them. Rabbi Yehuda says, you shouldn't also put your eyes and make believe as if you're here to buy something. You have no money. You're not planning at all on buying it. So the seller is hoping that you're going to buy and you have no plan on buying it either. Now regarding all these things, this is something which is in your heart. Only you know what you're thinking. When you're saying these things, or you're whether it's true, whether it's an honest mistake you made, or you're sincere or not. Regarding all these things which is in your heart, Nema by the pasuk says in Parshas Kedoshim, you should be afraid of Hashem because He sees what you're thinking in your heart. It's worse, it's greater the matter of a person that wrongs someone with words from someone that you fool someone or you overcharge him in price and money. Why? Because regarding wronging someone with words, the Torah uses the term regarding price and money, over there the Torah does not use the term But Abulazah says another reason, when you wrong someone and you say words to him that cause him pain, so then you're causing him pain in his feelings, in his body. Here, you overcharge someone, it's just something that it's a money loss for him. So it's much worse when you're causing a tar, guf for the person. Shmuel ben Achmeni says another reason, if you overcharge someone, so that's money that you can give back. However, when you embarrass someone or that you say things to him that are not nice, so that's something that you can't take back. You hurt him. Tana kamed Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Tana taught in front of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, kol malbim pnei chaveri berabim. When you embarrass someone, you embarrass your friend in public, ki ilu shayfech dam. It's as if you have killed him. Amalei, so Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, shapek amrit, what you said is true. The chazina lei, because you can see when you embarrass someone, the ozl sumke, that the redness of his face goes away, v'asa chivre, and he becomes white. Right, first he becomes red. Taisa says the blood comes together and then it leaves him, and then he becomes white. It's like he's spilling his blood. Rabbi said to Rav Dimi, in the west, which is in Eretz Yisrael, what were the people there very careful with? They were careful with not to make a person's face white, not to embarrass him in public. Because Rav Chanina said, everybody goes into Gehenim, besides 3 individuals. Okay, so the Gemara right away clarifies how to read this. Do you read this as everybody? Everybody goes to Gehenim. That can't be. Ella, you wait to read this as follows. Of all of those that are that go into Gehenim, oilim, they all come out of Gehenim. Besides 3 individuals that go into Gehenim and they don't come out. And they are the following: one that has relations with a woman that's married, one that embarrasses his friend in public, and one that gives a nickname to his friend, not his name, embarrasses him. So the Gemara asks in the last one, it seems like when you're giving a nickname to someone and you're embarrassing him, it's the same thing as embarrassing your friend in public. Why does it say that separately? So the Gemara answers, Afagav, the doshbei b'shmei. This is even if it's something that he's already accustomed to this, many people call him this name, and he doesn't necessarily get embarrassed by this. But nevertheless, if you are calling the person with this nickname with the intention to embarrass him, you also are from those people that it says here that are yardim ve'ein oilin. You see how important it is, the honor of another Yid.